Good morning. It's time for the North Carolina Vinyl Picker Show. And on this episode, I went over to Asheville to Harvest Records and Mr. K's. I did. And then also, I have the top 10 records of 1982. So stay tuned for that towards the end of the show. But I want to show you something from the New Jersey collection. The New Jersey collection is an interesting story. I received these records, and these records have not been even seen or played in over 40 years. They were in a basement. We're going to call it the New Jersey collection. I'm not going to show you here. I got one box. I'm going to show these on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday. Here's the second box. These are huge boxes of records. And we're going to go through them on Wednesday. Thanks to my buddy John up in New Jersey, who acquired these and then sent them down to me. We're going to look at those. We're going to call them the New Jersey collection. And what's cool about them is there's hundreds of these records, and several different people have gotten them. And for me, it's cool that somebody's going to be actually playing these after they've been in a basement for 40 years. Can you imagine? I want to look at the condition. We're going to go through the whole thing. We're going to look each individual record on its own show on Wednesday. So stay tuned for that. So I started my day. I went over to Mr. Brugger's Bagels. And we got some bagels there. You know, the Jersey boy, I love my bagels. I don't eat them too much. I'm trying to maintain here. But one or two every other day is not too bad. You got to eat them pretty quick, though, because they go bad. And then ladies wanted to sell me a freezer bag, but I don't know about that. Freezing a bagel, I don't think that's going to work. Being in food service for over 40 years, I never had much luck freezing bread. Excuse me. So, went over to Brugger's. I was over there by myself. I spent, 5 hours over in Asheville, and the place is tore up. I went down to my normal district. I went down to the river district, and I went around and looked around and stuff. And I didn't shoot any footage because there's plenty of it online if you want to go online and look at footage from Asheville. It's just awful. You know, the people have been through a lot, and I don't need to be showing that on my show. So anyway, I went to Mr. K's next. I went over to Mr. K's, which is a bookstore that also sells records, and I always find some good stuff over there. So the first thing I found was this copy of Simon and Garfunkel, Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme. And it did not have this one, and it's a 2i Columbia. It played fantastic. I think I paid only like $5 for it. So this place, Mr. K's, is a discount place, but they have thousands and thousands of books, and they have probably thousands and thousands of CDs, and they probably have just hundreds of albums. It's a great place. The prices are real good, and then you can bring stuff in. You can trade stuff. So give him a little shout out to Mr. K's because I really like the place. And next door, there's a thrift store next door for ladies, and on the left side, and then on the right side, there is a place where you can buy beer, different kinds of beer, not like Michelob or Budweiser or stuff like that. This is the high dollar beers and different craft beers and stuff. It's a nice place. And then across the street from that, there is a Starbucks going up. So if anybody's into Starbucks, they're putting in one there. So that's over in Asheville. So the second thing I found there, and this was $3, was You Sure Dior. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correct. And Peter Gabriel, Shaking the Tree. Shaking two trees, yeah. So this was a nice EP, 12-inch. For $3. How could I pass it up with Peter Gabriel on there? I like that song too. And I think that was from the So album. I think so. Carly Simon, Spoiled Girl. I did not have this one. And I'm all in on Carly Simon. I love her voice. And this was, I think $5. And I got my military discount. So I ended up paying like, $4.25 or something for this. I'm only missing 2 of her albums now, and I'll be on the hunt for those, and you can pick them up really cheap. So there's my haul from Mr. K's, my so-called haul. So then I left there, and I had to go to Harvest Records. I went over to Harvest Records. Now, Harvest Records is closer to the River District, where the place is just obliterated. It's terrible. And everything's just, there's construction going on everywhere. There's big trucks running around. There's piles of debris everywhere. It's just crazy. So I went into Harvest Records and I got to talk to these guys, and I hadn't been there probably in 4 months. It's been a long time since I've been over there. It's a great record store. If you're ever in Asheville, you need to hit up Harvest Records. It's my favorite place to go. And they have new and used records. They have 45s, they have CDs, they have posters, they have all kinds of stuff in there. It's like a old-timey record store. So I got to talking to them guys, and they said they didn't have any damage there whatsoever. But I did miss something. A few months back, they have a cellar there where they have all kinds of dollar records, $5 records, and they have 45s out the yin-yang, and then they have all this stuff downstairs, and they have, once or twice a year they open up the basement to the public. I missed it. So I went ahead and signed me up on Facebook, so that way next time they have the cellar sale, I could get over there and see them, and probably stop by in Brugger's. I love Brugger's bagels. If I could find some place to get some good New Jersey pizza, then I'd be all in. But I got a place not too far from me that's pretty good. So then I found a few records there at Harvest Records, and their prices are really good. They have a new release section where they have all the new records, and then they have another section where all the old records, the new ones that come in, they have a section for that, and they have A through Z, then they have all the jazz and soul and disco and blues and everything there. And they have a Love Me wall, which I'm going to show you a couple pictures from the Love Me wall with their really high price stuff, you know. So I'm going to show you that too. That'll be in the video. So I didn't do a flip video there because I didn't want to pull my camera out and start shooting video of records in that place. So this is the first thing I found there. And this is Soft Machine 6. This is a double album I got for $10. And the only thing I'm missing now, I think, is 7. But 7, I have a copy of 7 that I got at the Rad in Asheville, but it's really, I wouldn't even put it on my turntable. It's that scratched up. It's just a place setter. It's in there, so that way there, when I get something good, I'll just put it in a pile of stuff that needs to go to Goodwill. But yeah, so Soft Machine, this is going to be good. I'm looking forward to giving this a listen. I'm all in on Soft Machine, even the early stuff with Robert Wyatt, and I like the later stuff, the fusion more fusion stuff, but I'm going to have a listen to that. Found this there for, I think this was $7. Talking Heads, Fear of Music. I had this album back in the day. I had a couple of their albums. I didn't have them all. This was produced by Brian Eno. There's all kinds of people that appear on this record. Fripp's on here, and David Bowie, and they were all involved, and Eno was all involved with Talking Heads. So there's a couple of their albums I want to get. The one after this one I want to get too. So if I can find that one. This guy here, I have just about all his stuff, solo records, but he did a lot of collaborations with Chick Corea and some other people. Miroslav Vitos, Mountains in the Clouds. It has John McLaughlin, Joe Henderson, Herbie Hancock, Jack DeJohnette, and Joe Chambers. And this is really good. I really enjoy listening to this bass player, Miroslav. He does some really amazing records. I think I've shown some of his stuff before. This was the only one that I was lacking. I think he had $6 on this or something. It was cheap. It's Cheap Heat. Speaking of Cheap Heat, this was the only Robin Trower album I didn't have, Long Misty Days. This was $6. This is a really good record. And it's on that Chrysalis, and it's minty fresh, and it's really nice. And so now I put that in my collection. I listened to it last night. It just sounds incredible. Once the first note, you know it's Trower. As soon as you hear, the needle drop, boom, it's Robin Trower. Andreas Bollenheimer. I love Andreas Bollenheimer. I've been listening to him since I was a teenager. Seems like maybe in my 20s. This album's Down to the Moon. It's probably my favorite of his. He plays an electric harp. This is a promo, so that's why I picked it up. It was $3, and I picked it up, and I put my other copy in the store. Probably won't sell because I ain't nobody else listening that I know of that listens to Andreas. They should be, but this is a really great album. Um, it's one of them albums where you want to turn the lights down low, light a candle, and just chill out and listen to Andreas Wallenheimer. He's just incredible. And this was the last one I picked up. This was probably the most expensive record I had all day. This was like 12 bucks, maybe 14. Ultimate Spinach. Now, this is a 60s progressive album, you know, more psych. And this is their first album. But their second album is the one I'm going to be out looking for next. That's my next high dollar record I'm going to be buying. I'm saving up my nickels on PayPal to get that. Maybe I'll have it by next week. But Ultimate Spinach, their first album. It's on the old MGM label. And yeah, this is a great band. You know, you can stream it, listen to it. You know, psych, late 60s psych. And that was all I picked up. That was the whole haul, so to speak. 11 minutes in already. Time just flies, doesn't it? Okay, so now we're going to go to 1982. In 1982, where was the picker? Well, I was up in Connecticut. I was up there in Groton, living up there, living the best life in the Navy. And maybe I'll put a picture in of me, 1982. And then I was stationed there at the base in Groton, the upper base, and I worked some down at the lower base for a while. Yeah, had a great time. It was good to be young, and it was, you know, there was a great place to live at the time, and I could travel down to see my parents in Jersey and my friends and stuff, come back to the house, and then do my Navy thing, and then, yeah, little did I know that later on, you know, I'd become a chief petty officer. You know, at that time, had only been in the Navy like 4 years, and I didn't know I was going to make a career out of it, but I kept on going, kept pushing, you know. So anywho, these are the ones that didn't make the top 10. I'm going to show you some 4 albums that just underneath the top 10 for the picker. Yeah. Okay, Roxy Music, and I listened to this one just the other day. And I could listen to this record like at least once a week. Avalon, it's their second to last album they did. And just a wonderful album. You know, it's got More Than This on here. And that's a great song. And I love this album cover. You know, they got that little glare on there. Supertramp, Famous Last Words, the last album with Roger Hodgkin. It's got a couple hits on here. It's Raining Again and Crazy, and there's some good songs on here, leftover songs. They were kind of winding down by this time. Actually, the next album, Brother, Where Have You Gone, is better than this album. And that's the album that Roger Hodgkin wasn't even on. And that's got David Gilmour on it. I think he's on Cannonball, the song Cannonball. I like that album better than this one. This one here is not too bad. It's not as bad. This is the album that came out after Breakfast in America, if you can imagine. It's hard to follow up after Breakfast in America. How do you follow up after that? So that was a, you know, mega million seller, probably platinum 10 times over. But yeah, Famous Last Words. Hodgkin was on his way out. And then he made some solo records that are very good. Only a couple of them are available on vinyl because of the moving on to CDs, of course. King Crimson Beat. This is what their album was after Discipline. I saw the Discipline tour at Toad's Place in New Haven. I mentioned before. I didn't see him on this tour. This was the Beat tour, and these albums here, Discipline, Beat, and Three of a Perfect Pair, they're a trio of albums that they did in the 80s, and they have that 80s sound, and that's one reason why it didn't make the top 10 for the picker. So anyway, Beat, there's a couple good songs on here. Heartbeat, I think, was their hit on here. And if you heard one of the songs from these 3 albums, you've heard all 25 of them or whatever it is. They all sound pretty similar. It's got Bruford on there, though, but Bruford's using those electric drums and stuff. So if you're into it, that's cool. If you're not, that's cool. I just, you know, 80s music is just, you know, a little dated to me. National Health. Now, this album here is a great album. This one almost made the top 10. This was the final album National Health did, D.S. Al Coda. And it was a tribute to Al Goen, who had passed away. And this is a fantastic album. You know, after their first two albums, they took a break, and then this one here came out. And I remember going to New Haven and buying this record along with PFM. I think it was Como Ti Va de Viva la Chita or PFM Live Performance. It was one of those two albums that I bought that same day. That's a long time ago. Trying to remember that far back. National Health DSL Coda. And it's on the Europa Records. And yeah, if you know it, you know it. It's a great album. Didn't make the top 10 though. So here we go. We're going to go down with a top 10. So what do you think your top 10 was from 1982, if you can go back that far and think about it? Well, I had to do some research, and I've already researched 83, so I'm ready for next Saturday. But coming in at number 10 is Mike Oldfield, 5 Miles Out. And this one had Taurus 2 on here as the first long, so it's a 24-minute song on here. And then he had 5 Miles Out, of course, was the single on here. And he had a female singer on this album with him. And wasn't his sister, though. And this is a great album. And then I think the album Crises came out after this one. So he was moving into the 80s, too. He wasn't doing the stuff he was doing back in the 70s, like Tubular Bells and all that kind of stuff. He was moving towards the 80s. All these bands, all these progressive bands from the 70s were moving into the 80s, and they were trying to keep relevant. They were trying to sell their records and stuff. Like this next guy. This next guy started off with Genesis, and before that he was with some other bands. But this one here, this was his second solo album, Hello, I Must Be Going. And he did Hurry, you know, You Can't Hurry Love, a Supreme song and stuff. So he was trying to be relevant in the 80s and trying to make some money. So his biggest album would be yet to come, and that's coming up in a couple of weeks probably. But this one here, Hello, I Must Be Going, Phil Collins, I Don't Care Anymore. And I like the song like China. You Can't Hurry Love is a great song. Phil does a great job on those old songs from the 50s. But yeah, You Can't Hurry Love. Coming in at number 9. Coming in at number 8. See, I got my list down here today. I didn't got to screw up today. Number 8, John Anderson. This is his third solo album, and this is Animation. And I've had people tell me they saw this tour. This has Animation, Surrender, All in a Matter of Time. And he's got some heavy hitters on this record as far as people that played on here. I think David Sanchez played on here. Simon Phillips played on here. Chris Rainbow, John Giblin, Morris Pert from Brand X played on here. This is a great album. Don't sleep on this album. You can find this album for pennies on the dollar. It's John Anderson's third solo album. So if you love John Anderson like I do, he's 80 years old now. His new album, True, is going to be in the top 10 for this year. I got it up there at number 2. It could be moving towards number 1. I got my top 5 up there, and maybe a little sneak peek of that, of top 5. Hold on. The picker always does his top 10 every year. I've been doing my top 10 before there was Discogs, before there was YouTube. So back in the day, we used to do it on Facebook, and then before Facebook, it was something else. But I've been doing my top 10 records of the year for probably over 20 years. But anyway, back to John Anderson. John Anderson's third solo album. This one here is coming in at number 8. Coming in at number 7. This is kind of like the Lost Steely Dan album. This one album should have came out after Gaucho, but there was problems with Fagen and Walter Becker. And they didn't get along, or Walter was doing too much drugs or whatever. It was a whole shit show there. And it didn't make it as a Steely Dan album, but it did make it as a Donald Fagen album. And this album is called The Night Fly. This album is great. Now, I didn't listen to this back then because it wasn't prog. You know, if it wasn't prog or fusion, the picker wasn't listening to it. But now, as I'm getting older, I started listening to different stuff. And this one here is making my top 10. This is coming in at number 7, and this album is called The Night Fly. And I'm looking for a copy of this that is the Quayax 2 sounding. So once I find that, this will go in my store. But this is The Night Fly, and of course, this is Mr. Donald Fagen from Steely Dan. Coming in at number 7. Number 6. Now, I seen these guys twice in concert. I didn't see them back this time, in these days, but I did see them back in the early thousands, I guess. It was between 2000 and 2010. I seen it with my daughter, and she was young. She was probably only like 10 years old when we went to and down to Orlando and saw Alan Parsons Project. This is iRobot. Oh, it's not. Eye in the Sky. It's Eye in the Sky, and Eye in the Sky. The basketball teams use this as the opening for their when the players come out. I don't know what the name of that song is. Gemini or no, it's not Gemini. Instrumental, I guess. Cirrus. I think that's what it is. And so yeah, this is a great album, and one of my favorite Alan Parsons records, right up there with the first couple, iRobot and Tales of Imaginary and Suspense and stuff. Edgar Allan Poe. There's just so much of his records that I really like. So Eye in the Sky coming in number 6. Coming in at number 5, being a Pat Metheny fan for, I don't know, 40 years, I guess. Off Ramp is a great album, and Off Ramp's coming in at number 5, so we're halfway there. Yep. Off Ramp, and it's got Are You Going With Me? There's a 45, I have it up there of that. I have actually 7 copies of it that I found at a charity shop for like 50 cents a piece. So anybody out there looking for a copy of Pat Metheny, Are You Going With Me, with a picture sleeve? It's really cool. I should have took it out. I could have showed you, but maybe I'll take a picture of it and I'll put it in the show here so you can see it. But Off Ramp, great album, Pat Metheny Group. It's one of the last Pat Metheny Group albums there was before he started doing more solo stuff. I think he got back with them later on. Coming in at number, oh, here's the extended version. I had that pulled. This is the 12-inch, the promo, but I don't have the 45 here. Thomas Dolby. I was all in on Dolby. Now this is the UK Harvest. Now this came out in 82, but it didn't come out in the US until 83. The Golden Age of Wireless. One of my submarines is missing. Europa and the Pirate Twins. Wind Power. I love this guy. He was not real big on a lot of the 80s bands, but for this guy here just kind of grabbed a hold of me, and I had all his records. And I think his second album, The Flat Earth, that's my favorite of his. But this album's really good too. And this is an early pressing of this because this is an 82. This is when it came out in the UK. It had Flying North, and it has this bunch of great, it's almost a perfect album. Every song on here is great. And I know all the words to all the songs. I used to listen to it so much. Coming in number 3. Now in the US, they called this album Security. But in Peter Gabriel called it 4. Yep. And it's on the famous Charisma. So this is the UK, digital mastering. See, digital mastering back in 82. So this is Peter Gabriel 4. And here is the German one. And this one is called, the German was the first one. Duh. The German was the first one. So this one here is the US. I did screw it up. See, I messed up. I had it all ready to go, and I still messed it up. Okay, so see, that's the German one. So he sings the whole album in German like he did his third album. So it's pretty cool, huh? And you could pick these up. They're not real expensive. Peter Gabriel records are not that expensive. Coming in at number 2, there was a new band in town, and me and John went to New Haven. We met there and seen Marillion with Fish, and it was early. When Script for the Jester's Tear had just come out, and Market Square Heroes was actually her first 12-inch, and this album came out first in 82. So it's got. Of course, it's got the 17-minute song Grendel on here on the side 2. Takes up the whole side. Side 1 is Market Square Heroes and 3 Boats Down from the Candy. So there you go. There's the 12-inch of Marillion. And we got some really cool pictures of that show, too. Okay, that John had sent me. The Dreaming is number 1. Kate Bush. This is my favorite Kate Bush album. I'm going to show you the 12-inch first. There she is, the babushka. Yeah. Sat in Your Lap. This is from this album here. The Dreaming. But she's got this outfit on. And this is Sat in Your Lap. It's got James and the Cold Gun on here. It's got the Babushka on side 2, Suspended in Gaffa, and the Infant Kiss. Put this away. So coming in at number 1, no surprise for me. Shouldn't be no surprise for most people that know my show. And this is a promo copy that I picked up in Lenoir, North Carolina. The Dreaming. My favorite Kate Bush album. Fantastic album. Probably listened to this more than any of her records. This got Sat in Your Lap. There goes a tenor. Pull out the pins. Suspended in Gaffa. Leave it open. That's just side 1. This is another album that's a perfect album. And this album sounds incredible because, it's, like I said, it's a promo. Promo right up here. Promo copy that I picked up. So there you go. That's my top 10. So I hope you enjoyed the show. 26 minutes in. Holy freaking moly. Okay, well, y'all have a great rest of your Sunday. I'll be talking to you soon. And support them troops if you can. And I will see you on Wednesday with the mega haul that I got in these boxes here. The New Jersey haul that I got from John. So I'm going to show those on Wednesday. And we'll be talking to you soon. And North Carolina Vinyl Picker, I'm out of here.